Andy Thompson here. We are back with Word on the Street. This week we're going to talk less about streets and more about tracks, because this week we're talking about Brightline, the new commuter rail service opening up. It's supposed to connect Miami to Orlando, two of the busiest cities in our state. So get this, there are approximately 100 million trips annually between Miami and Orlando. And this new rail service, Brightline, is going to connect the two in the hopes of reducing the number of traffic trips made between those two cities. Now, Brightline's supposed to open up to Orlando sometime in the next year or two. It's not open to Orlando just yet. In fact, it doesn't run to Miami or Orlando at the moment. Right now, it runs between West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale. And just last week, that service opened up between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. Now, the whole concept behind this Brightline service is to make it easier for people who are driving between two urban cores like Miami and Orlando, which make it a hassle to drive, though 100 million people do it, but it's too short to fly. And the fares at the moment between West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, quite reasonable, $10 a pop. And just last week, we saw people take it for the first time because it's kind of a novelty. Now, Brightline is a unique creature in this country. It is, in fact, the only privately run train service in the entire United States. It's privately run, which means that there were no taxpayer dollars spent on its construction. However, as any large infrastructure project like this might take, it has creative financing. In this instance, that creative financing involved tax-exempt bonds, so that I suppose constitutes something of a tax subsidy, a taxpayer's subsidy, though our tax dollars technically aren't used for it. Now, what's the train look like? The train is going to be 3 or 4 cars long, and it's going to run in the FEC, meaning the Florida East Coast Railway. That's the one that's just west of Dixie Highway here in Boca. And just to orient our viewers, Tri-Rail is the train system that runs just west of I-95. And this is not your father's commuter rail system. The seats are ergonomic, they're leather, you get Wi-Fi in the trains, you get power source on the trains, and you can sign up and get tickets on your smartphone app. Now, what does Brightline at the moment mean for Boca? Well, at the moment, not all that much, because after all, we're right smack dab in the middle of West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, so there's really not much point for us jumping on the train in Fort Lauderdale to take it to West Palm Beach. We could drive there much faster than we could ever take it on a train. So instead, what we're stuck with is the downside of train traffic, which is noise and safety concerns. First, noise. The intersections off of Dixie Highway, and for residents who live nearby the FEC rail lines, they know that those intersections are supposed to be what are called quiet zones, which means the trains, when they come, are not supposed to blare their whistles and their horns. But over this past week, I'm told that these intersections have not operated in quiet, but rather the trains have been blowing their horns and whistles. And the reason for that is the intersections up until this point have not had the implementation of the enhanced safety precautions that are necessary to make it a quiet zone. And by those safety measures, I mean elevated medians, extended gates. Those structures aren't in place yet, so the quiet zones aren't ready just yet, although I'm told that they will be at some point soon. So we have the noise issue, but we also have the safety concern. As everybody knows, trains are not always kind to people, and cars for that matter. And in fact, just this past week, a woman was killed by a Brightline train in Boynton Beach. So at the moment, Boca's not seeing a lot of upside for this, but I do, and I still remain hopefully optimistic that once the system opens fully between Orlando and Miami, that could be a very useful way to reduce the number of cars on the streets. And I'm looking forward to taking Brightline, I think, with my family to go see our friend Mickey Mouse in Orlando. So until next time, I'm Andy Thompson, and this is Word on the Street.